Hey everyone and welcome to another video, and today with you guys I want to share a story, and this is the story of a true plateaued silver player. I feel as though both in myself and my YouTube content, but also in the YouTube sphere overall, the below gold experience is incredibly misunderstood. For me, I've only been helping the below gold community for, I would say, roughly 5 months. I've been coaching for now full time, like 3.5 years or something. Over that 3.5 years, I've basically only been focused on, Gold 4 to Challenger and really mastering my craft in terms of how do I get someone from Gold 4 all the way to Challenger among all servers. It's only been 5 months where I've really dedicated a lot of time and energy to understanding what the journey is like to go from level 30 to Gold 4. And I feel like there is so many misconceptions, and all of us, I'm going to say us, include us, the above gold community, where we're so detached from what the average player's experience is actually like in below gold. Now, I want to share this story. This is actually someone that was in my program that recently left my below gold program, and he sent me this message, and I felt responsible for his failure. He left the program not getting the result he wanted and he was looking for, and I felt so bad. I felt so responsible that I was so curious what was really going wrong with his play. So I'm going to read out this message and then we're going to dive into his OPGG in a second. He said, "Hey, my friend, I just want to thank you for all the effort and content you've put out. I really enjoy the community you've created, but I think there's something wrong with me. I just am not good for this game. I think instead of keep losing my time and effort, I should quit. I've really just spent the last month following your advice, and I think this is good, but despite all of that and all the effort, I just keep losing and losing. I feel like I'm getting worse. I've delayed this decision already 2 or 3 times, but the game feels like a lot of luck. I know at the end there is skill involved, but the variance is too high. I just can't keep grinding and switching and spending 2 weeks climbing to lose it all in a few days. My current EV per game has to be so low that I'll need so many games to get out of gold, so I'm assuming he means MMR or something. Not sure if it's the champ because he one-tricks Malzahar, so maybe Malzahar's useless. I reject to believe I have no master in this champ after 800 games, but even so, I only have a 52% win rate over 350 games. This is just absurd. There is no reason why I'm constantly winning and then all of a sudden losing 10 in a row. I just don't understand this. It's so frustrating. And all the people say how easy it is to hit gold, and that angers me. And this is actually myself. I'm a hypocrite because I said that. I've said things along that line before, and I was so wrong. For the average player who doesn't have a sophisticated gaming background, getting to gold is not easy at all. Sure, the underlying concepts are relatively simple to understand, but the execution of said concepts is definitely not easy, especially if you don't come from a sophisticated gaming background. So we're going to jump into his OPGG. As you can see here from the tier graph, he's well and truly plateaued. I mean, he's been high silver now for months. And this guy, he has the games played, he has the small chample, he ticks every box, but he just hasn't got the results. And so, I'm looking through this, there's a lot of losses in a row, then a lot of wins, and then a lot of losses. So what I did, I actually begged him, I said, please, before you go, can you please upload a handful of your losses? I think it was this loss streak here. Can you please send me the Malzahar game, the Malzahar losses, so I can see what's going on, please. And so what he's actually done, he's actually uploaded them all POV directly to YouTube. And today I'm going to go through each and every one of these 4 games with the intention to really cut the crap, cut the bullshit, really expose what the silver to gold climb is really like. Now things obviously are going to be changing with Emerald tier coming into play. This might also apply to people that are, now low gold, gold 3, gold 2, but the premise still applies because again, this is not to bash this guy whatsoever. This is actually the other way around. This is to help him and to help other people in a similar situation because there are many problems here we're going to be touching on today. And we're just not going to be able to do it justice with one VOD. Therefore, I want to go through all 4. I'm going to try and get into the details and distill these learnings for all of you here today. So this is game number 1. We've got a Malzahar versus Kassadin. He's got a Malzahar Rammus, which is typically not the best mid-jungle 2v2 because there's a lot of CC and not a lot of damage. Kassadin can be a little bit of a nightmare, but you know, Malzahar in the lower elo brackets, very easy. You've got ease of execution, clear reference points, scales quite well heading into the mid to late game. Typically a very good champion to climb into gold. So I'm very intrigued to see what kind of goes on. Now, I will be skimming over things. My intention here is to really highlight the core pivotal problems in these games. I'm not going to nitpick small micro details. I'm going to cover what I deem to be the big stuff. Now, I do like this setup. I really like Sapphire Crystal start. Obviously, nowadays with Lost Chapter only being 1100, I think it makes a lot more sense. So, you know, I do believe, you know, this is something that I have had my opinion changed on. Like, Silver, you do actually need to have at least a baseline understanding of matchups. Back in the day, I feel like you didn't, but I think nowadays in Silver, as it currently stands before the Emerald tier changes, I do believe if you're a Silver player, you need to start getting into the nitty gritty. How does my champion fundamentally interact with the other champion? So I'm going to fast forward here. It looks like a pretty non-interactive lane. Again, the reference point at a high level here should be, okay, I'm a Malzahar. I know that I'm not going to be able to kill the Kassadin pre-6, so I want to farm up a storm, protect myself at all times, get to my Lost Chapter, so on and so forth. Ends up getting a ward out a little bit late. He could have got level 3 ganked, but Kassadin is not really going to offer much gank setup, so I can understand why he might want to go for the late award. So this is all relatively straightforward. So it looks like Volibear ganks top. Looks like Tryndamere solo kills that set on the top side. So now we know where Volibear is. Looks like he's potentially done a full clear up to top side. Now, to be clear, I have skimmed through these games. I haven't really gone into the details. I wanted to save it for this video here. So yeah, I don't really know exactly what we're going to see here. So Kassadin shoves him in. Look, it looks like he's trying to pull the wave. A little bit hard given the size of the wave. We might go back over the early lane if I need to in terms of wave management. But again, I'm not too fussed about this sort of stuff. Sure, maybe he could have thinned it a little better. Called for a gank and all that shit, but at the end of the day, you're a pre-6 Malzahar. Let's just keep it simple. Farm up, you know, farm your ass off, get to your level 6, get to your Lost Chapter. These are your core reference points. So, looks like Rammus goes for a gank. They burned the flash. Great, off to a beautiful start here. So all we got to do right now is get the wave in. And, yeah, get the wave in and go for a little bit of a reset for our Lost Chapter. Looks like Kassadin TP's back here. Now, we do have a ward on that top side, so we can be leaning onto the top side, keep ourselves nice and safe. And it looks like Volibear comes from the bot side. Yeah, so, you know, maybe he felt perceived safety because his Rammus was on the bot side. Hard to say. You know, I would say objectively because we have the vision in the top river and we have the vision on that top side, kind of where the Raptors is. I think it's highly unlikely Volibear would keep coming from the top side. It is a little bit of a random gank. I'm assuming maybe Volley wrapped around, maybe going for the Scuttle or something. I don't know. But regardless, you know, a bit of a warding and a leaning problem here. So, flashes away. Looks like he's going to get chased down. Rammus is on the way here. Okay. Ends up dying. So, makes sense. Kassadin did lose a little bit of farm for that, but a bit of an inconsistent fundamentals there with that warding and leaning and threat assessment get us killed. But Kassadin lost a lot of farm. Now, it looks like here the Malzahar actually forgot to buy items coming out of base, maybe being obsessed with that play. A little bit unfortunate. So, walks back to lane without Lost Chapter. The good thing, at least he didn't TP, because he didn't need to. The wave was coming back out to him. So, comes back. Looks like Rammus is pinging for a bit of a gank here onto the Kassadin. And to be honest, I mean, if you look at this, I mean, you're a Sapphire Crystal Malzahar. Even Rammus doesn't have a lot of damage, and you've made it very, very obvious with the way you're moving up past the wave like this. I mean, it's so obvious if you're Kassadin, even though he's level 5, that something is happening here. This looks like an incredibly forced gank. You know, sure, if the Kassadin walks up and gets melee range to these minions there as Rammus is walking around the corner, sure. But if you actually look at it, if we actually look at this, look at where Malzahar presses the R. Rammus isn't even remotely close. Yeah, sure, Kassadin doesn't have flash, and maybe this could have worked if you'd been more patient, but by the time Rammus comes in, Kassadin's right next to the tower, so there's no way this is going to work. And what we've actually done, we've just opened ourselves up to a 2v2 that we're going to lose. Because, you know, Volibear is obviously a lot stronger here. And we don't have any items. So that was actually very lucky. If Volibear was a little bit closer here, this could have been a bit more of a disaster. And to be honest, yeah, we escaped this scot-free. So a little bit forced, right? Very, very forced, actually. So comes back, though, with the TP. Takes some good trades. Looks like Bot's struggling in the 2v2. Now, he gets the wave and maybe Malzahar went for a reset. Now, it looks like he's feeling like he didn't know what to do. Maybe didn't feel safe hitting the tower, which is understandable. Sometimes you can use these windows where you can just get wards, right? Where you don't feel safe hitting the tower. Just get a deep ward on the Raptors or something. But looks to go for a roam bot. Now, this is a very, very risky roam, right? Because you are a no ult, no flash Malzahar. Your jungler also offers very little damage. And we don't know where the Volibear is either. And your bot lane isn't even here. So this can sometimes work, maybe. But roaming around the map with no ult on Malzahar is not really the way to go. But yeah, Volibear happens to be in the area. Luckily, your bot lane come in time. They don't target. I mean, that was just pure luck, right? I mean, Zeri could have easily they could have just actually targeted the Malzahar together, but Zeri got greedy, tried to kill the Rammus as well. They could have easily just got the Malzahar and got the hell out of there. They even got lucky to trade kills there, to be honest. So this was all luck. So already in the first 8 minutes, we've got forgetting to buy items, you know, sloppy warding and leaning in the early lane, resulting in a death. Getting lucky that Kassadin died on the back end of that first play anyway, and then forcing a really crappy gank, and then forcing for a pretty crappy roam. So now we have 52 CS by 8 minutes 40, basically all in our own dime, basically forcing a lot of plays here. Now you got to remember that League, the decisions we make aren't just, you know, this might not be his raw level of play, so I'm going to empathize with him. He might be mentally jacked up from past losses. You know, this could be him in his last draw, like say, screw it, you know, nothing's working. The way I played before didn't work, so I'm trying to change things up. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what the context of his mindset heading to these games are. But as you can see here, there's a lot of, like, core problems. So looking at it, though, objectively in the LoL state here, we've got bot lane stabilizing a little bit. Rammus is in an okay position, and Top's actually doing really quite well. So to be honest, if you look at the game state right now, a very winnable game. I mean, if he didn't make those early errors, would have been an incredibly winnable game. Now, it looks like Kassadin makes a really nice creative pick on Rammus on the Krugs. He decides to save for some plates here. Kassadin ends up roaming bot and ditching a bunch of waves, is what it is. Not really much for Kassadin to do, for Malzahar to do here. Getting very, very close to Liandry's, which is another core reference point. Looks like this Kassadin keeps hovering bot side. Looks like a very roam-centric Kassadin player. You know, so it'd be good to kind of ping danger, danger, danger down the river to give the teams a heads up that Kassadin is moving down. So it looks like he did drop some pings. I would argue that the quality of the pings could maybe be a little bit better, but for the most part, not too bad. Ends up getting some plates. I don't know how that Kassadin gets kills. But really, game state's not terrible. It's a hard game, don't get me wrong, based off all the decisions we made from this point. But, you know, not a super unwinnable game. So bot lane loses their tower. We've got full lane control here, sitting on a lot of gold. Looks like Zeri comes through. So the mindset in a scenario like this is, you know, when someone over-roams, is just be strong. Get to your key spikes. Play in accordance to your champ's identity. So we know Malzahar, R cooldown very important. Liandry's very important. Flash very important. You know, getting to your 2 items ideally. So it looks like Kassadin resets. We end up staying for a bit of a plate here. I mean, one might argue that this is even a little bit greedy, given the amount of gold drawn. But okay. Looks like Volley comes by. Let's just go back here. Let's take a look at this one. So it looks like Zeri comes through. A very crazy E flash R there. Again, narrowly escapes. So I don't know about that flash. Maybe a bit of a panic play. Hard to say. So it looks like it was a 1-for-1. So it looks like we get the reset finally. Come back with Sorks. Okay. So again, this Malzahar is actually in a pretty good spot. I mean, Sorks, having Flash would be ideal, but I mean, Tryndamere seems to be doing an okay job. Looks like a bit of a river skirmish. Looks like Tryndamere is also moving down, so we might be able to back up the team here. Got to be careful of getting pincered though, because Kassadin is coming from the back end, but Kassadin quite low. Luckily, we don't feel like we're under a massive amount of threat. Okay, not too bad. Okay, good. We're in an okay position. And I'm getting mid tower as well. This is a bit crazy, trying to go all the way around here, trying to spot the Kassadin, but okay. You know, and this is one of my biggest beliefs in, below gold. Once you develop champ mastery and you start to develop, your mid lane fundamentals, your resets, your wave management, threat assessment, etc., the games kind of win themselves because the enemy are going to be making so many mistakes. You just got to be ready to capitalize on the enemy mispositions. So, I mean, look, it's a bit of a scrappy play here. Zeri comes through. We stack our ults with the Vel'Koz. It turns into a kill. Again, in the back of our mind, we should be thinking, okay, we are a flashless Malzahar. We don't really want an elongated fight because we're completely exposed. So I do think that there is definitely an semblance of a threat assessment problem here with the Volibear. So, coming out of base here, when we look at the game state, I mean, Tryndamere is actually pretty goddamn strong. Samira and Vel'Koz are not weak by any means. Obviously, the Zeri Yuumi is going to be a lot stronger. Volibear is a bit of a pain, and Kassadin is scaling. Now, I would say objectively, this is where the game is really quite hard. We've made a lot of mistakes. 3 deaths by 15 minutes. CS obviously quite low as well. But, welcome to solo queue. They are going to make some random decisions, so we're able to punish that. And this is exactly what I mean. If you're strong and you're putting yourself in the right spots, opportunities will present themselves. So fast forward a little bit, see if anything jumps out to me before we move on to the next VOD. But again, what I'm trying to do here is build a case, essentially. Trying to understand what's going on across these 4 games that are leading to such inconsistent, this plateau point, essentially. This one looks kind of okay. Tryndamere's in bot river. We have man advantage. We're playing with our team, playing off our key spikes and R. I like it. Pretty straightforward. Should be a dragon as well. We can sit here and help the team. Great. I have no problem with this. This is really good. So fast forward a little bit again. Looks a bit chaotic. We shove our mid wave. Tryndamere's doing a great job bot side. Game's looking okay. So same thing. Now we're at 2 items. Look at the game set. Tryndamere's starting to get out of control. Samira is now at 2 items. Vel'Koz's definitely not weak. It's okay. I mean, again, so mindset front to back. I guess ideally play around the Tryndamere. So one or the other. Either let Tryndamere split and buy time for Tryndamere to split because Set doesn't have an answer to it. And definitely Kassadin can't answer it. Or if Tryndamere's going to group, just play the team fights with the Tryndamere. Alright, so it looks like we kind of go for an ARAM, bit of an ARAM here, but then Zeri, Yuumi start to shove our bot side. So we decide to look for a bit of a collapse from what it seems like. You've got to be a little bit careful here because our Tryndamere is on top side. So, we can fight. Doesn't mean we can't fight. But given Tryndamere is our strongest member, we've got to keep in mind that, these fights are going to be a little bit harder. Especially since our jungler and our strong member is actually on the top side. Looks like we get collapsed on the way through. A forced to burn flash. We take a very greedy path without taking that blast cone. And end up getting collapsed on. And this is the sort of decision I see a lot, which is making plays away from our win condition and making plays away from our jungler's location. And now look at that. Samira dies, we die. Poor Tryndamere is forced to TP, even though they're getting rift on the top side. He's getting kited out, and then looks like he dies as well. And that's where the game is now, in my opinion, over. So, look, from what I think the key takeaways from this one, I don't want to draw too much from one VOD because there's only so much you can take away from one VOD. There is definitely some positioning problems, maybe stemming from some threat assessment problems. There is most definitely some over-forcing problems. Inconsistency of fundamentals in the early game, some we're going to have to keep an eye on. And potentially, not playing it according to your key Malzahar reference points. So we'll continue on. This is a good start. We've still got 3 more VODs to go. So we're heading into game 2 now. This one, same thing. Malzahar, he's actually got a bit of a different setup. He's actually gone for the D-ring start. Not typically something that I would do, especially versus a high threat jungler like Nunu. I don't think you're really going to be able to utilize it that well. I would much prefer just Sapphire Crystal start, keep it simple, keep the reference point simple, get to that that early lost chapter. Now, what's very unique is that this Viger actually went Smite. So we have an obvious TP advantage here, which is great. So let's get into it. Nunu jungle, very high threat. Looks like the team go for a bit of a level 1 invade. Nothing comes of it. Here we go. So Got to be very careful shoving in level 1 into a Nunu. Looks like they actually started the red. So when they went for the invade, they must have invaded there. So we've got a little bit of a weird scenario going on. Nunu down here, but Bel'Veth over there. So still we've got to be extremely careful. Looks like he's picking missing. Doesn't really know where the Veigar is. Looks like Veigar had helped with the invade or something. Maybe with that smite. I don't really know what's going on there. Veigar comes through. And here comes the Nunu. And there comes... Is that a kill or a flash? And he dies. So not off to the greatest start here. I mean, I think that was relatively telegraphed, especially since we saw that Nunu was starting at our red. Maybe he missed that in game. Hard to say. So he comes back. He didn't blow flash. And he TP'd. So it's not like he missed too much. Looks like Bel'Veth is coming through. He pings off the Bel'Veth, which... You know, I respect. I mean, it probably could have maybe burnt some damage, but that's okay. So fast forward, this is relatively okay. He's absolutely chilling here. And then the way I view this matchup, especially when you're versing a Nunu, is that you're not really going to be a lane bully. You know, Malzahar is not a lane bully. Now, sure, people watching this who are Malzahar mains might be like, oh yeah, he could be trading more aggressively. Now, yeah, sure, no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, you know, we'll come back to that. If we feel as though there was missed opportunities in the early lane for some trades here and there, sure, but I highly doubt missed trade windows is the result, is the difference between him, you know, being in high silver versus low gold. I don't really believe that to be the case. But it would be good to proc that mana flow whenever he could, even with a stray Q here or there. It looks like Nunu getting top. Bel'Veth hovering around mid. We know Nunu's somewhere on the top side. Gets a ward on that bot side from what it seems like. Nunu comes by mid. Working towards that Lost Chapter. To be honest, most slow lanes like this, if you can get to Lost Chapter scot-free, you're going to be completely fine. So he ends up taking an okay trade there. Looks like Bel'Veth is fighting with the Nunu here. Veigar has first move. There's not too much we can do about that. Bel'Veth actually kills the Nunu solo, which is incredible. So game's looking pretty good. I think CSing a little bit sloppy here under the tower. Typically, you don't want to AoE the minions like that. Oh, okay, so what actually happened there, he went for the trade onto the Veigar, and that actually ruined the HP values, and also used the E onto the Veigar, so he didn't have E to CS under tower as well, which definitely doesn't help. And again, that trade's kind of negligible, especially since you're trying to get to your Lost Chapter anyway. So Bel'Veth comes through, gets a bit of a chunk. Look, one could argue you're so close to Lost Chapter. You got Vision out as well. You could even just stay all the way to 1100. So looks like he decides not to. Veigar ends up staying. Veigar doesn't have TP, so we could just freeze right now, honestly. We could just freeze. We come back off the tempo reset. Just last hit. Stop the recall. Great. Really, really good. Still got to be a little bit careful for the Nunu, but for the most part, we're chilling. Wow. And we stop the recall again. We're in a very good position here. Very, very good. Okay, looks like Nunu's coming back mid again. Man, this is still fine. There's no way he can die. This is great. We win this for sure. Great, great. Bit of a backwards Q, but gets the kill. Okay. I mean, not too bad, honestly. I mean, we're in a very, very solid position here. Bel'Veth off to a great start. We end up staying for the next wave. Bel'Veth stays for the dragon. I think we definitively missed a recall window here. I mean, we knew Veigar was dead. We could shove this one in. You can literally just start your recall now anyway. Bot lane is already shoved up because they got to kill bot side. We knew Nunu was top side. We're chilling. We can just recall here. Next wave is a cannon. No need for us to stay. You don't really want to be delaying your Lost Chapter. So a bit of an overstay here. Maybe a missed recall window. Okay. Don't know what he's doing here. Maybe he's trying to heavy trade and burn resources before his TP comes back up. Unsure. Looks like Blitzcrank's coming through here. So what's very interesting to me, he definitely, you can see here, there's a definite threat assessment problem. He's most definitely disrespecting Nunu's threat on top of him. Even if Urgot wasn't here, this still wouldn't have been a great scenario. He still would have gotten chunked, and he still would have gotten, you know, taking a bad trade from the Veigar regardless. Look, I'm not going to expect a silver mid laner to track top lane roams. I just don't think that's feasible. I wouldn't even expect that of like a platinum mid laner. especially if they're not really pinging that effectively. Now, sure, one could argue in the lol state back here, you could be like, oh, Urgot's missing, but bullshit. That's not really something that I would expect for a silver player, and it's not necessary. What I take away from this, I think, is that he's not leaning to the correct side. We already knew Nunu was on the top side. Your jungle's invading on the bot side anyway. Maybe what he was trying to do was move onto the top side to try and influence the Viagra to move onto the bot side for the gank. Maybe, one could argue that. But I don't think I'd even really be in the fighting mindset right now. I want to reset. I want to spend my gold. I don't want to make a play with my Bel'Veth on the blue buff anyway. So, probably not the right timing, but a tough play nonetheless. I don't want to be too harsh on him there. Bel'Veth comes through. They try to take a fight. Doesn't end up too well, unfortunately. Okay, he comes back. Again, you could potentially freeze again if you really wanted to deny farm, or you could hard shove utilizing your wave clear, which is what he ends up doing, denying the wave into Viagra that way. That's fine. So if we take a look at the game state here off this lol set, let's just take a look at this game state here, just so we're all aligned. So top lane, most definitely struggling in the 1v1. Bel'Veth doing great. Look, even despite everything, he's doing okay because Viagra took Smite, getting a little bit behind, and they've shared a lot of XP. And bot lane, they're killing it. Bot lane's absolutely killing it. So game, you know, definitely winnable. Now he does have ultimate here. Looks to maybe be hovering, maybe getting a bit of a deep ward, trying to protect his bot side. I don't mind that ward for protecting your bot lane. Just got to keep in mind that you are under a lot of threat. Not a very gankable lane state as a Malzahar. I mean, what are we roaming for? The wave's under the tower. What the hell are we going to do here? So maybe a bit of an overstep there. Comes back mid. Luckily doesn't miss any farm. So, you know, if I were the Malzahar in this situation, I'd be keeping it simple, right? Bel'Veth is a key carry. Kog'Maw's a key carry. Protect myself at all times. Try and get to my Liandry's without dying. Really be cognizant of Nunu and the amount of threat Nunu imposes. And really focus on my positioning. It's not going to be an easy game because that Urgot is going to be quite annoying. But we have tools, nonetheless. So fast forwarding a little bit. Looks like he takes a questionable trade around here. Let's take a look at this. So, okay. Maybe a bit of a panic or something. Again, maybe disrespecting the stun. Hard to say. You know, typically you don't want to be using your R for lane control. Malzahar's not really an R where you want to be using R for lane control. It's not like an Orianna or a Victor. Because your R is so important. Because it has so much goddamn utility. So there goes your gank threat. Even your 2v2 strength. So, bit strange. Okay. Bel'Veth looks to be doing the Rift here. So, something to keep in mind, by the way. If we were to stay on the map with Ultimate, we probably could have continued to pressure the Viagra. I mean, it's not really an overly valuable reset for us right now because, I mean, it'd be great to chunk out Viagra first, given Nunu showing topside. We don't need to reset now. Obviously, it's not ideal that the Bel'Veth is doing Rift on topside when we're in base, but yeah, a bit of a weird series of events there. So, look, I don't want to take too much responsibility for this because I think Bel'Veth could have panned camera mid, saw Malzahar was basing, and at the same time, Utop was getting shoved in. So it is a bit of a risky Rift. At the same time, you know, from a recall window perspective, it's not really an amazing recall, again, given we had so much resources. But we'll continue on. Bel'Veth dies. Bot's still doing okay. Nunu comes through again. Looks like they do a bit of a siege. We are chilling. Bot lane is coming up right now. It would be great if we had ultimate here. That would have been a beautiful ultimate angle right there. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get the kill otherwise. So that's a missed kill window right there. If we had ultimate, boom, that would have been a kill. Bit unfortunate. We decided to cover bot because Kog'Maw went mid. That's completely fine. We shove it out while we're there. Looks like Bel'Veth solo kills the mid laner, just casually getting close to our Liandry's. So it's turning into a very split map scenario where we've got one weak side, one strong side. And this is typically the way the majority of solo queue games go, at least in my experience and what I've noticed. You know, typically the framework that I try to follow is that you're going to have one losing side, one winning side, and you're going to be the difference maker alongside your jungler. And if you're winning your lane or putting yourself in good scenarios, typically over the majority of games, you know, that's going to be the difference here. So we try to back up our Belveth. Nice little R there. I mean, one might argue that you could have maybe queued a little bit earlier or positioned a bit more aggressive there, but okay. So it turns into a 1-for-1 from what it seems like. Okay. Okay, unfortunately they still rift. We've now got our Liandry's. We come back. So again, when we take a look at the LoL states here, it looks like Nunu ganks bot. Unfortunately, they trade a bunch of kills. Urgot absolutely out of control. But again, Belveth's not weak. Kog'Maw, most definitely not weak. We see again, disrespecting the stun of the Veigar. I think we could be either walking into the stun or a little bit more aware or cognizant of the range. You can see there's definitely some trading misunderstanding. You could probably tie this back into matchup understanding. Maybe, you know, if you do struggle with understanding ranges and the feel of abilities, one might, you know, I typically suggest play that champion in a normal game. Take some time to play in a normal game. You know, even just one game goes a very long way just to feel out the kit. Because League ultimately is a game of anticipation. If you can't anticipate what they're going to do and why, then you're going to really struggle. So Urgot comes mid. Not really much we can do about that. Let's take a look at this here. So it looks like he's hovering the Belveth on top side. I don't mind this. We do have ultimate. We are on our key spike. We're with our team. So it's not a bad decision. I mean, it's a bit tricky in the sense that, you know, you're playing away from your fed Kog'Maw as your 6-0 Kog'Maw. Typically, a good fundamental to follow is just be aware of your other Fed members' location and play in accordance to your other Fed members' location. When in doubt, play around that other member. So here we ping that Veigar's moving. Beautiful pings. Again, we've got to keep in mind that we are not around our Kog'Maw here, so we're trying to fight with the Belveth. Beautiful flash into a combo. Not too bad at all. E spreads onto the Nunu. Overall, not too bad. And they get bot tower. Game's looking pretty good. So fast forwarding here, we go back to base. Lane assignments get swapped up a little bit. We need to be now catching sideways. So rather than looping all the way through here, we should basically immediately be going bot. So let's go back off this LoL state. This is where a lot of people get confused. So your Belveth is on Krugs here. Now we have a choice. We can either all walk over here and maybe fight that rift. But if someone is recalling whatever, what we can do right now is just ping back, back, back. This gives us time to go on bot side, get that wave on bot side, then we can shove and move. So because we're not going to be contesting that rift, right? Because your Belveth is basing. So there's no shame in giving a rift, no big deal. But if we're going to give it, we want to ping way in advance, like now. We want to be pinging danger, danger, back, 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 and then ping on my way bot. And I don't really know why we took the long route. We took the scenic route to go all the way around. Now, unfortunately, our team looks to have contested. Luckily, no one died there. We do have TP here. Typically, you don't want to be getting late to fights with Malzahar. You're typically a champ that wants to be front to back, so I like this. We can play with our Blitzcrank, and we've got great pick. I think this, from a macro perspective, is completely fine. One might argue that you can go bot, stay bot, shove it out, and then TP in a little bit later to maximize your farm. But from a macro perspective, shoving mid here with the team is quite good. Okay. Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, again, look, it's your job as a utility mage to be aware of everyone's location. We've got Blitzcrank on one side, we've got Belveth and Yorick down there, we've got Copper here. We're split all over the place. And why that's very important is because if you are someone and your team's not in position, no one's there to follow up on the damage. So here, we end up ulting, but then we're forced to cancel because we're so far away from our team. So again, we're wasting an ultimate. That's a second ultimate that we've wasted and got chunked here. We shouldn't even be in this location. We just EQ, disengage, get the hell out because we're so far away from our team. But then we waste our ultimate, we get chunked, and we're completely caught out of position there. And again, if we had ultimate here, this is where we'd be ulting the Urgot under the tower or doing doing something else. So it looks like the team kind of clean up here because they overcommit. So great. I mean, we stumble into that one. Team does dragon. We TP in to help the team. I don't mind this either. Game's looking pretty good. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Kog'Maw's on 2 items. We're getting close to our Rylai's. Not too bad at all. So mindset here is just really front to back with the Kog'Maw. As long as we're with the Kog'Maw, we should be completely fine. So I'd just be literally sitting right next to my Kog'Maw and my Blitz. I don't know if I would want to be ulting the support. It's not really the highest value target. Even if you just leave it, let him survive, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's probably going to die here anyway, regardless, but I think I'd really want my ultimate for another key target. So it looks like we do a bit of an ARAM. I don't really know about this positioning. Literally sit around the AD carry, just fish for picks. This is great. Unfortunately, he dies. We've got Yorick split pushing on the top side. We're peeling back with the Kog'Maw. Unfortunately, Kog'Maw blows flash. So this is where, you know, a lot of low gold, high silver, even same thing in bronze, etc. It's a bit of an ARAM in the mid game because no one really knows how to play the side lane. You know, especially when we don't have TP, there's no way we're going to be able to go bot side here. So the next best option is literally just play the ARAM. And Malzahar's great at the ARAM. But we don't have ultimate, so we've got to be cognizant that this is going to be a hard fight for us. So plays over, Blitzcrank's dead. Yorick is dead as well. Not much we can do. So fast forwarding. Luckily, they don't Baron. They go for the Siege. This is where fishing for an R angle would be great. Unfortunately, Kog'Maw overextends. Might be able to fish for an R. That would have been, again, a great R angle to the Nunus. If we go here, notice how the Nunu took tower aggro. We could have actually R'd the Nunu right there onto tower and got a kill into the Nunu. That would have been great. That would have prevented them. I don't know if they do Baron here, but if they wanted to, they wouldn't be able to do Baron otherwise. Somebody keep in mind, we're sitting on a lot of gold. We actually have Rylai's gold. So one, you know, thinking about it again, we might have actually been better off here quickly recalling, getting our Rylai's and then coming back rather than sitting here. Something else to keep in mind. So anyway, it looks like we go in one by one. Everyone kind of dies there. Dragon is going to be the next objective. We group up mid. Excellent. We should be staying grouped as a team. Malzahar, sit next to your AD carry. What you need to be doing here is spam pinging assistance mid, so we all stay on mid wave together and we all shove mid together. This is something I cover in my mid lane school, is the importance of when you're playing around neutral objectives, shove mid first. Literally spam assistance mid ping, say come mid. Because that way you're all together, you're all grouped, it's easy to contest neutrals through mid, and also you make them react to mid wave as well, which can create a bit of a man advantage. Wow, so the Miracle Hook comes in. I don't mind that ultimate. But again, the positioning, it's all over the place. We've got Bel'Veth on the flank. We're kind of sitting in Narnia over the wall here. We just need to be literally next to the Kog'Maw. Front to back. Keep it very, very simple. Okay. Ends up working because of that great blitz hook. Oh, very aggressive flash forward there without ultimate. Okay. Maybe wanting to get the slow, but honestly here, after we kill these members, instead of chasing, do Dragon, then run straight to Baron. You could actually do both. You could do both objectives here probably, because you have a Kog'Maw and Malzahar do the objective really, really fast. Smash out the Dragon, move to the Baron, and then you're all good. So we do a bit of a chase, loop-de-doop around the jungle. We'll fast forward here. Looks like this Malzahar is getting angry in spam ping. He wants to be going bot because he has TP, but don't think it really matters. Let Yorick do his thing. Just stick with the team. And what actually happens here, funnily enough, is because we stick around for so long, they actually go straight to Baron. They realize that we've overstayed. That we show both bot, and they just run straight to Baron. So this is something you've got to keep in mind. If you're going to overstay on the map, especially all this is all an overstay. You know, you're messing up your reset. Imagine if you're the enemy. You got aced. You realize the enemy are just now all recalling. They can just run straight to Baron. So typically, you know, yeah, you just got to be cognizant of the idea that, okay, if we're off tempo and they have mega tempo, you need to just be cognizant of that idea. They might just trade it off and go to Baron. So what we could have done is reset way, way earlier, stop wasting time here chasing the Nunu around the jungle, and then again, reset, spend gold, get back on the map, and then start pinging assistants on top side, making them come to you. Malzahar is a champion that you want the enemy to come to you. You've got a very, very clear win condition. Front to back, sit with the Kog'Maw, play with your Fed member, make them come to you. Shove mid-wave move, shove mid-wave move. Very, very simple. Can't really go wrong with that. So yeah, looks like there's definitely some bit of macro problems. So we lose Baron. We try to play around. I mean, this Yorick is so weak. We shouldn't even be here. As soon as Yorick goes bot side, ignore it. And again, stick with the Kog'Maw here. So this is a 0-8 Yorick. We were completely wasting time here. And then it looks like they shoved down mid. We again coming in from the flank, not in front of our Kog'Maw. Poor Kog'Maw struggling to do damage. We should be just ulting the Urgot Hunter the tower there, to be honest. And it looks like they just lose off this push. So this was a game where there were, I would say, there's definitely threat assessment problems yet again, this time into the Nunu. There was some questionable mid-game positioning. Definite some mid-game macro problems in terms of not shoving out mid-wave before objectives. I think he's losing his reference point. Again, I think he's not playing in accordance with his reference points of R cooldown, playing off key spikes, playing around secondary carries. Not really identifying who the key members are to ult as well. Ulting the support and the Nunu when the Nunu was away from the teammates. Like there was no one to follow up. So a lot of Malzahar specific problems here as well. This was a game that in my opinion was very winnable. We turned a game that was very winnable into a loss. So again, we're starting to see the things really click into play here. So let's move on to game 3. All right, so we're on a roll here. We're on to game 3. This one, yet again, Malzahar going in for the Airy with D ring start. Yet again, not the Sapphire Crystal. So it is what it is. I'm okay with that as long as you understand the trade-off. First thing is Swain. Swain with Ghost and Electrocute, very unique. Roaming support, bit of dive, a lot of dive in fact actually, but you know, we've got some frontline, we've got our own tools as well, so not too bad. Let's dive into it. So this should be a relatively straightforward lane. I mean, Malzahar and Swain both need time to scale. This looks like a bit of a scale fest, to be honest. You know, when you're versing Swain, you only need to be thinking about avoiding those E's. If you avoid those E's, all's good. You're not really going to be in too much trouble. Again, same thing. Reference points. Get to that 1100. Get to that lost chapter. Keep it very, very simple. Volibear actually can gank in the early game, so we've got to be quite cognizant of level 3 ganks. Why does he not have a ward? Where the hell did he ward? Wait, what? So he actually warded level 1 there. That is a disastrous ward. There's literally no reason why you would ever ward there. If you want to control this, you stand here. This is actually a bad place to stand. You always just stand here because then if they walk around, you'll get screwed. So you just stand here, chill out. Yeah, very, very weird. Now, this is actually going to bite him in the ass. I don't know if he dies to a gank this game, but typically, especially if you're looking to shove like he is right here, this is where you would want to get that 2-minute 20 ward on one of the ledges right there. Lean, ward, keep yourself nice and safe. Especially into a champion like Volibear. That ward there isn't going to do jack shit because they can loop around that ledge. So look, you see there, he was looking like he was going to get a ward on top side, 220 ward, but then he didn't have a ward in his inventory. So he's like, oh shit, okay. I don't know. He felt a bit confused there. That's what it looked like anyway. So, CSing, missing a bit here and there. I mean, it's not terrible. Could be better though. Definitely missed the last 2 melees. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why Volley wouldn't literally just come around the corner there and gank him and just blow his flash. So as you can see, there is definitely an inconsistency of fundamentals, which actually explains, in my opinion, when I see OPGGs that have a lot of wins and then a lot of losses, typically what that means to me is that they're getting lucky. There's a lot of lucky. You know, they're not getting punished for their poor warding and landing. They're not getting punished for their bad resets. They're not getting punished for, you know, not playing off their ults or key spikes, etc. And then other games, they're just getting lucky or they're getting carried, right? So, or other people are compensating for their mistakes. So typically, you know, my framework when I'm thinking about climbing from silver to gold is, you know, does the player have champion mastery? Does that person understand their key reference points with their champion? Do they have consistency of the fundamentals, warding, leaning, resets, you know, wave management, etc.? I don't think wave management per se is this guy's problem. I think he definitely has a bit of a threat assessment problem, disrespecting the amount of threat junglers can have onto him. And I think that's manifesting in, you know, sloppy warding and leaning, potentially. So a very aggressive flash E there ends up working out because Kayn was in the area. So again, I guess good awareness of Kayn's whereabouts. But as you can see here, he was actually getting hit by a shit ton of Swain E's here. So again, matchup understanding seems to be a common thread throughout this throughout these games. He doesn't seem to have a great understanding of trading patterns. Maybe Malzahar has compensated for that. Maybe he's gotten in a bit of a rut where it's like, all right, Herder, I just kind of EQ the wave and don't need to trade. Maybe. But it's still as important, no matter what champion you play, whether it's a Lux or a Seraphine or a Malzahar, whatever, you still need to understand what the opposing champion fundamentally wants to do, at least at a baseline level. Okay, hello, Volley. Bit of an interesting flash there. We end up getting Volley flash. So we've got to keep in mind that we don't have flash anymore, right? We don't have flash. So we're under a lot of threat. So Volley cross maps here onto that bot side. We try to get the wave out. Not quite at that 1100. Looks like he doesn't feel safe enough to stay for that 1100, which is fine. He could also just last it, but he doesn't really have much mana here, so I respect it either way. Goes back, TPs. This is where warding and leaning really needs to be on point because you're versing a champ that does have gang setup. Swain with the E can set up ganks, and you're versing a gank oriented jungler. So we ping that Swain is moving bot, very good. Unfortunately, they die. We're chilling. We keep shoving in mid waves. Beautiful. Working towards our lost chapter. We'll fast forward a little bit here. Looks like pretty non-interactive. Now he's at the stage where it looks like he's just not really playing for the lane, which is fine. I don't mind that. They just get dragged on bot side. And look, to be honest, you have a scaling jungler, right? You have a Kayn. So as long as we go relatively even in lane and get to our spikes, then we should be okay. Now, it doesn't mean we can't fish for trades every now and then like we are here, but it's not really our main objectives. Malzahar is not really a lane bully. So here comes an Alistar. We stand our ground. We get a nice little kill. So when I get support roamed on like this, you know, again, I wouldn't expect Silvers to be able to track support roams, but at a surface level, you know, you're versing an Alistar, you're versing a Bard, you're versing a Pyke, you should somewhat be at least baseline anticipating that you're going to get roamed on. So, you know, when I see that, you got to think to yourself, okay, well, if I'm in the game right now, all right, I probably should be at least thinking, where's Alistar, or second guessing, is the support showing? Because, you know, it's likely if it's once, it's likely not going to be more, it's likely not just going to be that one time. It's not going to be a one-off. It's going to come again. So, to give a bit of context, it looks like what happens here is that Kayn gets invaded by the Volley and dies. So now we see bot lane, Ali got 3 kills. Bot lane definitely struggling, but Set seems to be doing a great job topside. Volibear also 3-0, but we're doing a great job. So, I mean, to be honest, this looks like, again, weak side, bot side, strong side, top side type game. This seems to be a recurring theme throughout these games. You have one strong side, one weak side. So it comes out of base, works in towards that Liandry's yet again, in a very good position, has flash coming up relatively soon, ult up in a minute. So again, what would I be thinking? Again, keep myself safe from the Volley, ward lean, play off my R cooldown, keep it nice and simple, try and get to my Liandry's, complement my jungler whenever possible. I think it's always a mid laner's responsibility to be aware, at least roughly, about what your jungler is doing at any point in time. Whether they're invading, whether they're resetting, whether they're ganking aside, your job is to make your jungler's life as easy as possible. And if you're a jungler listening to this, make your mid laner's life as easy as possible. Vice versa would be ideal. So it looks like Kayn and Bran go for a bit of an invade there. End up getting it. Kayn actually gets a 300 gold shot down onto the Alistar, which is huge. Absolutely huge. Great. I mean, honestly, I would somewhat actually prefer to be on Malzahar's team right now. You got a scaling Kayn. I mean, 3 of the kills from the enemy team are on the Alistar. We're chilling. We're mega chilling. Bot lane die again. That's okay. Top seems to be doing a pretty okay job. So yes, there are trading optimizations here and there, nitpicks. I think his Q accuracy and stuff could be a little bit better, but I'm not going to go too deep on that. So ends up staying for plates, which I don't mind. He does have a lot of resources. Got to be careful for Volley, though. And Alistar. It looks like Alistar in this lol set is moving, so it looks like he was aware of that this time. So props to him. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So Swain was in base. Sees that top was heavy trading. So this is with freeze frame. Sees Malphite low. Set is a win condition. But so is Kayn. Moves over. We do have Flash. We do have ult, but we don't have Liandry's. Okay. This is going to be a bit of a tough one because our jungler's not yet here and the set died. Holy moly, this is tunnel vision on another level. Holy moly. Okay. Oh, God. Well, look, that was very unnecessary, right? We don't really need to make this happen. I mean, I think the hover is great because we don't really know how that's going to unfold. Maybe set survives longer or it flows into the river. As soon as that happens there, for me personally, I would actually just go straight back mid, right? Or I would go top with the intention to clear the wave and then let set go mid. But even then, I don't really think there's a point in doing that. I would go back mid, keep it simple, get to my Liandry's, play around my Kayn. Using flash aggressively under the tower, walking past a fed Volibear is definitely the definition of not valuing your life and overcomplicating it. So we do get the kill eventually on the Malphite, but then it looks like Volibear cleans up a bunch of kills here. And look at how much farm we're losing mid here. And there goes our flash. And potentially a tower plate. So not good. Not ideal. Okay. Well, that's going to make the game significantly harder. Volibear is now 6-0. They get Rift. We see Volibear on top side. Alistar is missing. Alistar also shows top. So this is the lull state. We should be processing information. Where is everyone? Especially if we are in a mobile mage with no flash. We need to be very, very cognizant of everyone's location. So let's go back here. Why the hell was Swain there? So it looks like... I mean, I would have actually thought that Swain would hover the team on top side for that rift. Swain hadn't shown bot. So maybe Swain was like getting a plant in the river or something. I don't, or maybe hovering bot for a gank. I don't know where the hell that Swain came from. This is actually very weird. Oh, I mean, if we didn't cast that Q and actually focused on avoiding the E, I think we're actually completely fine here. Because here, he stopped to cast the Q, and that allowed him to get hit by the E. And then he gets hit by the W, which slows him, and now he's going to get ran down. Oh, poor guy. Oh, and he runs back in there. Oh, no. Bit of a disaster. I really think he could have escaped that, though. I think if he didn't get hit by the E, he could have just ran out of that. Swain doesn't have any damage. Alright, well, now the game is looking really rough. I mean, Brand did get a shutdown, bot, and Set got a shutdown top. Okay, go a bit further. This is painful. Oh, what the hell? Is he actually stealing the Raptors? What's going on here? Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not good. Definitely don't want to do that. So it comes back mid. Again, if it were me, I'd keep it very simple. And again, I don't have my Liandry's. I don't have my flash. Keep my threat assessment high. My warding and leaning is going to be of utmost importance. So it looks like Swain here in this little moment ditches midwave and actually roams bot. I mean, I actually don't give a shit. If someone does that, go for it, honestly, because they're going to miss so much. And MF's not even my win condition. I literally don't give a shit. So I end up getting some plates here. We're sitting on a lot of gold. It looks like we've missed a reset window. This was by far a reset window with sitting on Liandry's gold. This reset also would have been perfectly synced with our jungler, which is ideal, right? I think Kayn's actually a pretty big win con this game as well. So we missed our recall window. Now we're sitting on 1,600 gold, and we're completely desynced from our team. Get nailed by an E, full combo. Alistar comes through, and then we die. So we do trade kills, but in my opinion, that entire sequence could have been avoided if we actually just recalled instead of staying in lane with 1,500 gold. And on top of that, I mean, look, it was a good bait from the Swain to take the E, so I'm not going to nitpick that too much. I think the main problem there is the reset. So we'll continue on a little bit more, and I think we'll probably call this one. Bot's losing, top stabilized. Malphite's going to be annoying as hell. Kayn is strong, though, but unfortunately went blue Kayn into a game we probably... I don't know if that's the best build. Alright. Bit of a crazy flash up, but gets the kill, hopefully. Okay. Look, the game's desperate, so I don't mind it. I don't mind going for these desperation, plays, given the game state. We definitely need to be recalling right now. I mean, from a win con perspective, when I look at this game state, And what your best bet is stall it out. Because people are going to make mistakes. I mean, in all ELO brackets, but especially in this ELO bracket, people are going to make mistakes. They're not going to play perfectly. They're going to miss position. They're gonna overextend. They're gonna screw their resets. If we stay strong and we stay poised, typically an opportunity will present itself. So now the lane assignment should be swapped up. We should be going into the side and letting the MF and Brand go mid, but it looks like the MF actually AFK'd. So I'm actually not going to go any further because the MF AFK'd. So I don't know whether or not this game was winnable because of the MF being AFK, but who knows? Maybe if we were strong and not died and we played better on topside, maybe the MF would have been incentivized to stick around. I don't know. So this was, look, a game that I believe to be very winnable. I don't know if MF still would have AFK'd or not, but we are seeing some trends here. Again, I think threat assessment problems, not valuing own life, definitely some awareness of like what's happening around the map, not using lol states that effectively, and I don't think doing a great job of identifying role in composition and identifying who the other strong members are. Now we're moving on to the final game. This is a Malzahar versus Veigar. I believe this is actually, it's a Trundle jungle from what it seems like. So Trundle's not super low threat because we have no gap closer and Trundle can get onto us with an E. Or pillar, sorry. I don't agree with the Doran's Ring in this matchup. I just don't think there's much you can actually do into a Veigar. You know, I would much prefer to keep it simple with a Sapphire Crystal. So fast forward. We'll see how the warding and leaning is. So you're getting shoved in. So warding's not as important if we're going to get shoved in like this. This seems relatively straightforward. See if he gets the cannon here. Nope, unfortunately. So yeah, there's some sloppy CSing here and there. Now, I think this was actually the 4th loss in a row. It might even be more. So we've got to keep in mind that there might be a little bit of mental baggage here at play. I don't want to draw conclusions or make conclusions about, you know, what his mental state was. We don't know. So it ends up getting a ward out. Not a bad location. It would have been great if it was a touch deeper, but that's okay. This is fine. We're just farming up a storm. And again, if the lanes are panning out like this, you're not really getting a mass amount of value from that Doran's Ring. So we're chilling. Looks like a pretty non-interactive lane. We're farming. Ideally, we're not getting ganks like this because we don't have anything with and we're not even at Lost Chapter. Looks like we go a little bit deep, but we do burn the flash. Okay, that's okay. Not too bad. I just want to make a note. This CS actually is quite bad. We're at 20 CS by nearly 5 minutes. That is a little bit concerning. I feel like it's, in a way, gotten worse throughout the games. Maybe there's that mental baggage. Holy moly. Okay. Not the best play there from the Amumu, but not much we can do about that. We come back. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford that Lost Chapter. Wave's still in a completely fine position. We try to stop the recall. Unfortunately, don't quite do it. That would have also been a great warding window. We could have used that as a warding window to ward onto one side, but that's okay. Wave's in a pretty conservative position. Now we've just got to chill, right? We're not really in a position to do anything. We just got to literally farm, get to our Lost Chapter. We can't do much in the isolated 1v1 now. Amumu's doing a bot play. We just got to chill. Farm under tower. Okay. I take a very nasty trade. This is very reminiscent of the other game we reversed the Veigar where, you know, he started to take pretty questionable trades when the Veigar got to Lost Chapter. Especially with just disrespecting those E's. Yeah, so, you know, we're low. I would keep it simple. Probably go for a reset here. Lovely. Ooh. Okay, cancels the recall. This is where Futures Market would also really come in handy. But he already has it. I mean, honestly, he could have just based. Stays for the cannon, then stays for another wave. Okay. Gotta be a little bit careful here. I mean, look, you can greed if you want to greed like this, by all means, but keep in mind that you really just want to keep yourself safe. Cannot afford to die here. They get dragon. Just give the casters. We can get a reset on the cannon. Easy. Still staying. Now, the problem with this, right? Imagine if you're a jungler looking at your mid laner and you see this scenario. Your mid laner sitting with this amount of resources, you see this scenario. Malzahar, even though you have gank set up, you can't use it because you're so low and you're low on mana. You're basically a minion. You know, if you're ever sitting in lane as a mage with limited mana, chances are you've done something very wrong. So from a jungler's perspective, they can't do jack shit. There's nothing really they can do here. So, you know, you're really screwing over your jungler here. And you're just losing pressure. So we're losing farm because we don't have much mana. So now we're going down more and more farm. And look at our CS. We're 50 CS by 9 minutes. This is the combination of poor resets, poor mana rationing, and in my opinion, a bit of a poor setup as well. So we're just slowly bleeding out here, staying for longer, missing more CS, and then this one's the cherry on top, we just die. So this one, to be honest, is just like, you know, this is the nail in the coffin. There's no even point even going further. If you're 50 CS by 9 minutes and you're dying solo like this pre-Lost Chapter as Malzahar, it's already end of review. So what we're going to do now is kind of distill the key learnings. So as you can see, guys, these games weren't that easy. So for those of you out there that are, you know, in the higher elo brackets and thinking, oh, these people are just walking into the enemy and doing all this dumb shit. No, that like the level of play has increased over the years. This Malzahar's not an idiot. Now, I'm not saying there's not room for improvement. There's obviously a lot of quote unquote basic simple mistakes. But it's a lot harder than what a lot of people anticipate. And I'm here to be on the other side of the fence and say, guys, it's not easy. You know, no matter what your friends tell you, your friends that have played thousands and thousands of games with a sophisticated gaming background, I'm here to tell you it's not that easy. For the average player, it's not that easy. So as we can see through these games, there were a few key learnings. I think this Malzahar player was definitely in his head. You can tell there was a lot of mental baggage at play, getting beat down after loss, after loss, after loss. You know, I think that, you know, at times his reference points weren't clear. I think something that would help him a lot would be being aware of who on his team is strong and really directing a lot of attention on where is that person on the map and how can I help them. I think really playing off Lost Chapter, key spikes like Liandry's, Rylai's would go a long way. Really using that as like a compass, something to give you direction in a game. I think the consistency of the fundamentals really needs to be drilled in. Because at the end of the day, anyone can manage a wave once. Anyone can ward and lean 1 or 2 games. League rewards consistency. Your rank is not the result of 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 blocks, 4 blocks, a week of games, 2 weeks of games. It's the result of hundreds and thousands of games. League is a game that requires consistency. So I think he has games where he's probably doing well from a fundamental perspective. But I think his warding and his leaning is definitely, you know, a bit of an issue in terms of consistency. And I think that his resets also are a little bit problematic as well, which he needs to keep an eye on. I think as well, a big one is his threat assessment. If you are in any rank, this doesn't matter if you're in gold or if you're in platinum, diamond, silver, bronze, if you're dying, you need to get to the root cause of why. What is it that you fundamentally don't understand about that champion that got you killed? And I think in these few games, he definitely had some trading pattern problems and threat assessment problems into Veigar. He definitely had some threat assessment problems into the Nunu. He definitely had some threat assessment problems into the Alistar. So there was, you know, he needs to go to these moments and really consolidate and understand, well, what is it that I thought would happen? Why did I not feel threatened into those champions? If I were to go even further and nitpick even more, like I would say that his lull state usage also wasn't amazing. I think he needs to be more aware of his surroundings, use his lull state to be like, where is everyone on the map? Take time to calibrate. Where is everyone? What's everyone doing? Where am I? And where the hell is everyone else? That can also go a long way as well. The last thing I'm going to say, which is the very, very important one, is playing around neutral objectives. I actually recently released a video on my Below Gold program talking about neutral objectives and how to play around neutral objectives. You want to be always shoving mid-wave first and pinging assistance on the mid-wave first so you guys can stay grouped, especially when you're playing champions like Malzahar that really want that front to back. Very, very, very important. So, Kogart, man, if you're watching this, I hope this helped. I'm sorry that, you know, the program wasn't able to help you get the results what you're looking for. I hope that you don't quit, but, you know, if you feel personally that the game isn't for you, then I totally understand. For those of you out there that are in Below Gold and they resonate with this, you know, I definitely understand. I empathize and I resonate. And I'll be trying my best through my Midland School program and a lot of my new up and coming content to help you guys out there with your journey. And, you know, don't be afraid to get into the details, get into the nitty gritty, develop that champ mastery, keep that small champ pool, you know, review those discs, keep it very, very simple. If you have any questions about this video or anything that I covered in this video, let me know. Otherwise, good luck with your journey, guys, and I'll be floating around. Cheers.